Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the newsandnews.com Day in Brief. Today's top stories in 4 minutes. It's Wednesday, September 12th at about 6:30 p.m. I write about alternate realities in the media every day, but today that will also refer to many of our top stories. Alternate reality 1. This week we heard middle-class income is rising to the highest recorded levels ever, finally exceeding the median at the turn of the century. Job openings have climbed to a record 6.9 million. And small business optimism is the highest ever, better than during the Reagan administration. Last week, numbers showed the unemployment rate remains near historic lows, and GDP is growing faster than it has in more than a decade. But we also heard this week that the federal deficit soared by 32% in the first 11 months of fiscal 2018, and that has led to a borrowing binge, with the federal debt reaching $21.5 trillion. Tax cuts have not yet led to increased tax revenues, and Republicans seem to have forgotten they spent years complaining about Obama deficits and borrowing. Mitt Romney is among the few to be consistent on this, saying, quote, "With a booming economy, full employment, a soaring stock market, and record asset values, we should be shrinking the deficit, not growing it." Alternate reality 2. Jim Carville has finally been proven wrong. Normally, if there's a good economy, the party in power benefits and the president has high approval ratings because, as Carville famously said, it's the economy, stupid. Not in the new reality. Trump has managed the dubious achievement of becoming the first president, at least in recent times, who is this unpopular with an economy this good. I've repeatedly highlighted days where good news was mostly ignored because of the circus-like atmosphere in Washington, especially at the White House. Much has been written about how good Trump is at distracting and deflecting when there's a news story that's bad about his administration. Less has been written about how he ends up distracting and deflecting from the good news. That's hurting his approval ratings and the chances for the GOP to hold on to its majorities on Capitol Hill. So, while consumer sentiment on the economy is higher than the average of any president since that measurement began in the 80s, Trump's average approval rating is the lowest. Alternate reality 3 is the gap between the world described by Trump's hyperbole and what people believe and they're hearing from the media. Today, Trump insisted he deserved A+ for his work on hurricanes and that his administration did an unappreciated great job in Puerto Rico. He seemed to forget that some 3,000 people died. Of course, his braggadocio opened the door wide for his critics. Alternate reality 4 is that the gap in perception between Democrats and Republicans has only been this bad, briefly, at the height of the Iraq War. Put simply, the same facts are perceived in completely different ways by people on different ends of the political spectrum. Maybe Kellyanne Conway had something when she talked about alternative facts. Alternate universe number 5 isn't in the U.S., it's in Russia, where Vladimir Putin said the 2 Russians accused of poisoning people in the UK are just ordinary citizens and not criminals. By Putin's standards, Ted Bundy was an ordinary citizen. In our daily alternate universes segment, The Great Divide Between Conservative and Liberal Media, Trump derangement syndrome again took over at the liberal cable TV networks. How else do you explain leading a newscast complaining about Trump's Puerto Rico comments rather than focusing on a massive storm that could be the costliest in U.S. history? Please. But over on the conservative networks, let's call it reverse Trump derangement syndrome. How do you not mention Trump's Puerto Rico claim in hour after hour of news? Finally, if our analytics are right, most news and news users have iPhones. So I'm sure Apple's announcement today of its new generation may have you heading to the Apple Store soon. The 3 devices are all based on the iPhone X, but there's a cheaper version, a significantly larger version, and they're water resistant. For those of you who keep dropping them in the toilet, you know who you are. You can find those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week on newsandnews.com, where you will find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AMoraTV. I'll see you again tomorrow.